Have you had the misfortune of trying to open a crucial file and all you see is a ransom note demanding payment in exchange for accessing your data? If so, I'm sorry, but also you've experienced the work of ransomware, one of the most pervasive and lucrative cyber threats of modern digital age. Where did ransomware come from, and how did it evolve into the multi-billion-dollar criminal enterprise it is today? In this video, we'll explore its shocking origins and its meteoric rise. I'm also going to show you how this scourge has forced people and even governments worldwide to react to this unprecedented data security crisis. Taking a trip down memory lane, we can trace ransomware's roots back to the late 1980s. A computer program back then called PC Cyborg Virus, also known as the AIDS Trojan, was distributed via floppy disks to attendees of an international AIDS conference. Once installed, it will remain in a dormant state until the user had rebooted the system 90 times. Then, this early ransomware variant displayed a message that said, "There is no cure for AIDS," and demanded $189 to be paid to a PO box in Panama in exchange for a software key to unlock the user's encrypted files. This wasn't the first malware program to hold data hostage. Actually, the AIDS Trojan was a huge landmark moment that demonstrated the potential of this extortion-based attack. Strangely, despite opening the door to other potential attacks, it would take nearly 2 decades for ransomware to truly come into its own as a cybercriminal enterprise. The 2000s saw the emergence of more advanced ransomware strains, like CryptoLocker 2013. Before that, the Archivist and GP code viruses in 2005 posed a threat, but researchers were able to decrypt them before any widespread damage. The same cannot be said as ransomware continued to evolve, becoming an even greater threat. By the 2010s, the ransomware landscape exploded, with new variants appearing at a dizzying pace. WannaCry, NotPetya, and Ryuk were just a few of the most devastating strains. Winlock was another type categorized as locker ransomware. The goal of locker ransomware is to lock the user out of a device and demand payment to regain access. And like many forms of ransomware, Winlock was installed through phishing emails or malicious links on a compromised website. They all caused widespread disruption and over $10 billion in global damages. Ransomware has gone from a niche cybercrime to a full-blown digital epidemic. CryptoLocker was a turning point in ransomware attacks. Winlock and others failed to become widespread because they were easy to decrypt. CryptoLocker changed the game because it was the first to use asymmetric encryption. This, combined with a network of computers assembled by a previous virus named Game Over Zeus, allowed CryptoLocker to become widespread very quickly. CryptoLocker used strong encryption to lock users out of their files until a ransom was paid, which was common. What made CryptoLocker different though was the demand for cryptocurrency payment. Criminals realized that huge potential profits could be made, and soon ransomware became a tool of choice for online extortion. Another flaw with CryptoLocker was that it could infect only one device at a time. In 2017, WannaCry completely changed the game. It became the first self-replicating ransomware, permanently changing how these cyber attacks were deployed. WannaCry also gets special recognition because it didn't require a user to do anything. And yet, if they had a Windows device, an exploit called Eternal Blue allowed WannaCry to enter Windows systems with ease. The US National Security Agency, or the NSA, actually discovered it, and it was stolen and sold by cyber criminals. Ironically, Microsoft issued a patch for Eternal Blue before the WannaCry outbreak. However, many of those whose systems became infected failed to install the patch, making WannaCry more disastrous than it should have been. These people really had no shame. As attacks began to increase, we saw more criminals targeting government agencies, schools, and even hospitals. They were all seen as high-value targets. So, what makes ransomware such an effective and prevalent threat today? Well, for starters, the basic mechanics are surprisingly straightforward. Too straightforward even, you may say. Ransomware typically gains access to a device or network through social engineering tactics. For example, phishing emails or by exploiting unpatched software vulnerabilities. So once inside, the malware encrypts the victim's critical files, databases, systems, and making just everything completely unusable. Knowing that people are completely desperate and hopeless, attackers demand a ransom payment in exchange for a decryption key to restore access. Nowadays, they tend to ask for payments via cryptocurrency, making it even harder for law enforcement to trace and find them. The beauty of this model, at least for criminals, is that it scales incredibly well. A single ransomware variant can infect thousands or even millions of systems simultaneously, all generating potential ransom payments. And get this, the rise of ransomware as a service has made it much easier for the average person to actually do an attack. Like honestly, unskilled cyber criminals can deploy sophisticated malware via simple plug-and-play toolkits. This has fueled an explosion of ransomware incidents, with the global average now reaching over 300 attacks per day. Okay, that's a lot of attacks. The impacts on victims can be truly devastating. According to a recent study, the average ransom demand has surpassed $200,000, with some high-profile targets facing demands in the millions. I want to make it clear. Even if the ransom is paid, there's no guarantee that access will be restored, sadly. Many victims report that their data remains inaccessible or corrupted after they've paid. Beyond the financial toll, ransomware can cause massive operational disruptions, with critical systems and data rendered unusable for days or even weeks. This has sparked a crisis in vital sectors like healthcare. Okay, I've seen several stories of ransomware attacks forcing the shutdown of emergency rooms, delaying urgent medical procedures, and putting patients' lives at risk. And perhaps most alarmingly, ransomware actors are constantly evolving their tactics to stay one step ahead of defenders. Newer variants incorporate double extortion schemes, where stolen data is also threatened for release if the ransom isn't paid. Terrible. And as connected devices increase, ransomware is destined to wreak havoc on an even broader scale. So what can be done to combat this growing threat? For individuals, best practices like regular software updates, strong passwords, and reliable backups are just essential. Businesses and organizations must invest heavily in strong cybersecurity measures, incident response planning, and employee security training. At the same time, law enforcement and policymakers are scrambling to keep pace. They're constantly working to stop ransom operations, regulate cryptocurrency, and even establish international norms and deterrents. It's a complex, high-stakes battle with no easy solution in sight. But one thing is clear: ransomware isn't going away anytime soon. Unfortunately, as long as criminals can profit from holding data hostage, they will continue to be a menace to the digital world. The only way to actually truly defeat ransomware is to just make risks and costs outweigh the potential rewards. It's a daunting challenge we must overcome to safeguard our increasingly interconnected future. If you want to take control of your data and learn how to protect yourself from ransomware, then check out our Ransomware 101 Security Course and Response Plan. This course gives you all the tools and information to defend against ransomware attacks and safeguard your data. I'll leave a link down in the description. I know this video was a bit heavier than our normal content, but ransomware is a serious subject. And if you found this video helpful and you want to help spread the word, hit that like button. And if you don't want to miss it when we upload new content, be sure to subscribe to the channel. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.